So this shouldn't be possible, right? If any of you have read Mythical Man Month, Brooks said there's no silver bullet. There's no single development, either in technology or management technique, which by itself promises even one order of magnitude, a tenfold improvement within a decade in productivity and reliability and simplicity. I'm claiming we've done up to 100x. Now, over the years, it's decreased. I've measured 20x in some cases, but it's always been very high. It shouldn't be possible. The reason is we've left a ton on the table because of the object relational impedance mismatch. This isn't something I made up. There's the Wikipedia page if you want to look it up. It was first noted by this guy, Ted Neward. Some of you might have seen him at conferences. He started talking about this in 2004 and then wrote his article in 2006 on the Vietnam of computer science. He said they're a quagmire that's simply too attractive to pass up, a siren song that continues to draw development teams from all sizes of corporation, smashing them against the rocks with spectacular results. Now, Ted isn't the only one talking about this. Laurie Voss, creator of NPM, also opined on this in 2011, and there's more, but I'll stop here. Laurie's take was very interesting. He said, ORM initially are simpler to understand, faster to write than SQL-based code. So we're thinking, okay, we can have developers who don't have to understand the database. And the efficiency in the early stages of the product, he says, it's adequate. It's not a big win, but it's adequate. Fine. The problem is these advantages disappear as the project increases in complexity. The abstraction breaks down, forcing the dev to use and understand SQL. And what does that mean? Well, we start having to put SQL into annotations, and then those annotations get too big, and then it gets too complicated. We have to put it into a stored procedure. And now your logic is spread between your application and your database. And he said, entirely anecdotally, and I happen to agree with him, I claim the abstraction of ORM breaks down not for 20% of projects, but closer to 100% of them. So what's the cause here? So create, read, update, delete. This is what we model everything on. CRUD is for loading databases. It's not an access method, but we treat it like an access method. Oh, we're just putting something in the database and we're getting it right back out, right? Yeah, but relational databases are about joins and filters and aggregates and things that process the data in a useful manner. We can ask questions of the database, and we can't do that with object graphs. So when we did this is not CRUD, right? We are pulling data from multiple tables in order to get our answer. And the problem is that CRUD implies no exploitable relationships between data objects. And that's the problem. Now, there are cases where you're okay with just CRUD. If you're building an online forum, fine, you can use a document or object database. But I will point out here, DB4.0, Carl, he perfected the Java object to table approach in his own database. You could take any Java object and store it and bring it back. They're out of business. They're not around anymore. And apparently the market didn't agree that it was useful. And so that should tell us something. And yeah, you can use convergent storage when that's ready. Here's the problem. ORMs are modeling the wrong thing. If anyone's written a video game, right, you set up a stage and you create backgrounds and you have scroll offsets and then you have actors and you figure out the collisions between them and the pathfinding and all that stuff, right? And so we model all these objects in memory and we create video games. That's cool. Are there interactions between the objects when we're modeling them in ORM? I mean, we're certainly working the relationships with them, but the relationships are all historical. They happen outside of the system. The user is making those decisions. Now, there's some cases where a backend process needs to run, but usually it's just a delayed computation more than an actual interaction, right? And so we're building all this model to represent a simulation, and we're not doing a simulation. So we're wasting time and energy. And what we should be modeling is the movement of the data. So object graphs modeling a simulation. Relational sets represent historical interactions, not active interactions. So let's look at this in a different way. Which is the source of truth, right? The Highlander principle applies when you talk about source of truth. There can be only one. Now, is the relational database the source of truth? Or is your object graph the source of truth? Well, if we choose the object graph, we eliminate the analytical capabilities of the database. We can't use the database for its intended purpose anymore, and you might as well get rid of it. Because the source of truth is your object graph, right? That's painful, and no business that I know of has ever made that choice. We choose the relational database, we lose something. Schema duplication in the POJOs entities that we create to map the data in. Right? Schema duplication is gone. Hard-coded access paths in DAOs. And transfer objects serving no other purpose than serialization, right? We load the data into the DTO and then we serialize it back out. These don't feel so painful to lose, right? If we have to make the choice, losing the ORM is better than losing the database.